There are winters people forget. And then there are winters that never, ever leave you. The winter of 1978 didn't just bring snow. It brought a profound silence, an isolating cold. It was a winter that fundamentally changed how America thought about its own vulnerability. This wasn't a storm you watched through a window with a hot drink. This was a winter you survived. By January 1978, a lot of America believed it had already seen the worst of the season. December had been cold, but it was manageable. Snow came, and it went. Life continued. People went to work, kids went to school, and the roads stayed mostly open. And then, everything stopped. The storm arrived quietly at first. It didn't announce itself with blaring headlines or panicked news reports. Snow just began falling, steadily, across the Midwest and the Northeast. It felt like just another winter storm, nothing to worry about. But this one didn't move on. It stayed, and it grew. By the time people realized what was happening, it was already too late to prepare. In Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, New York, Pennsylvania, the snow piled up faster than any plow could clear it. The wind began to howl, reaching hurricane strength. It lifted the falling snow into the air, turning streets into blinding white tunnels where you couldn't see 10 feet ahead. Visibility completely vanished. Cars disappeared. Entire neighborhoods became unrecognizable landscapes of white. Snowdrifts rose higher than front doors. In some places, the snow buried houses right up to their windows. Fences vanished. Mailboxes disappeared. Roads simply ceased to exist. America wasn't just snowed in, it was buried. Temperatures dropped to brutally low levels. The wind chill plunged to a point that could cause frostbite on exposed skin in mere minutes. Power lines, heavy with ice, snapped under the force of the wind. Heating systems failed. Fuel deliveries stopped. Millions of people lost electricity. And when the power went out, everything changed. Homes grew cold, fast. Not just uncomfortable, but dangerously cold. People blocked off rooms they couldn't heat, huddling together in living rooms, burning anything they could safely manage just to keep the temperature from dropping below freezing. Families slept fully clothed. Coats were worn indoors around the clock. Blankets were layered thick on every bed. Some people boiled water on their gas stoves, not just for drinks, but to create a little warmth and humidity in the air. Outside, the world was unrecognizable. Entire cities shut down completely. Schools closed, some for weeks on end. Businesses locked their doors. Emergency services struggled to respond to calls. Ambulances were abandoned in massive drifts. In many areas, snowmobiles replaced fire trucks as the only way to get around. In Buffalo, New York, the storm became legendary. Winds over 70 miles per hour whipped the snow into solid, immovable walls. Lake-effect snow piled up endlessly, burying the city. Cars froze right where they stopped. Hundreds of vehicles were abandoned along the highways, some buried so deeply they wouldn't be found until spring. People trapped inside their homes began to ration food. Milk deliveries stopped. Grocery store shelves were stripped bare. A loaf of bread became precious. Canned food became a lifeline. Neighbors checked on neighbors when they could reach them. Some people walked for miles through waist-deep snow just to make sure an elderly resident down the street was still alive. In rural areas, farms were cut off completely from the outside world. Livestock froze in the fields. Farmers fought their way through impossibly deep drifts to reach their animals, but often it was too late. The financial and emotional losses were devastating. This wasn't just an inconvenience. This was a battle for survival. The National Guard was deployed. Thousands of troops worked around the clock, trying to clear roads, rescue stranded families, and deliver food and medicine. Helicopters dropped essential supplies into isolated towns that were completely cut off. Still, progress was agonizingly slow. The storm didn't respect schedules. It didn't care about calendars. And then, just as people began to hope for some relief, another storm arrived. On January 26, 1978, the second blow hit. More snow, more wind, more bitter cold. Any progress that had been made was wiped out overnight. People stopped asking when life would return to normal. Instead, they focused on just getting through the day, the hour, the night. Inside homes, daily routines were simplified to their most basic elements. For many, there was no television, no phones. There was just a deep quiet, punctuated by the relentless sound of the wind scraping snow against the walls and windows. Children who had at first felt a thrill at the snow days grew restless, then scared. Play turned into a feeling of confinement. Parents tried to keep spirits steady while mentally calculating how much food and fuel they had left. Hospitals struggled to keep up. Doctors and nurses slept at work, unable to get home. Emergency rooms filled with cases of frostbite, hypothermia, and heart attacks, many triggered by the immense strain of shoveling snow that was too heavy for the human body to move. The snow itself became deadly. The weight of it caused roofs to collapse. People who tried to walk even short distances sometimes disappeared into the whiteout, and some of them never made it back. And yet amid the chaos and fear, something else happened. Communities tightened. Strangers helped strangers without a second thought. People who had generators shared their power with neighbors. Those with extra food shared their meals. Churches and community halls opened their doors, becoming hubs of warmth and quiet reassurance. America was forced to slow down. And in that slowing, people noticed things they usually ignored. The profound silence, the deep, star-filled darkness at night, the sheer weight of nature when it decides you don't matter. When the snow finally stopped falling, it didn't just disappear. It stayed. Weeks passed before major roads were fully reopened. Some towns didn't get back to anything resembling normal until March. The snowbanks hardened into solid walls of ice. Streets became narrow corridors, carved out between frozen mountains of white. Spring arrived slowly, reluctantly. And when the snow finally melted, it left behind more than just water. It left behind a memory. The winter of 1978 changed how America prepared for storms. Weather forecasting improved dramatically. Emergency planning evolved. Snow removal strategies were rewritten forever. But for those who lived through it, the impact was deeply personal. They remember the cold that seemed to get into their bones, the silence at night, the fear, and the incredible resilience. They remember a time when the modern world came to a complete halt and survival took center stage. This wasn't the coldest winter on record, or even the snowiest in some places. It was the one that buried America. And if you lived through it, you don't need any reminders. You can still feel it every time the snow begins to fall. Thanks for watching.